In 1962, people are having a grand time on a cruise on the ocean liner Antonia Grazia. Francesca and the band provide wonderful music, so everyone is dancing except for Katie. A waiter notices she has a spelling toy and helps her form the words "I'm so bored." Eventually the captain sees that Katie is alone and asks her to dance with him. The evening continues to be cheerful and nobody sees a mysterious person lifting a lever to unravel some wire. It spins for several seconds until it finally snaps, causing it to hit the dance floor. Lights are broken, decorations are destroyed, and all the dancers lose the top right of their bodies except for Katie, whose height has saved her. 40 years later, a crew of salvagers is retrieving a broken ship. Since it's taking too much water, its weight is making it hard to move. Epps slides down a wire to enter the old ship and finds a punch in the port floater, which means it'll flood in 5 minutes. Captain Murphy wants to abandon it but Epps decides to stay to repair it. Munder and Dodge jump in to help and together they weld a piece of metal that successfully covers the hole. Sometime later the group celebrates the rescue and the pay. At that moment they're approached by a pilot named Ferriman, who wants to hire them. He shows them a picture of a ship he saw in the Bering Sea last month while flying. Ferriman tried to contact it but nobody answered, and saw it again a few days ago. The group takes the job and Ferriman announces he's coming along. The crew leaves early in the morning but they don't find anything all day. In the evening, Santos sees something nearby and quickly calls Murphy, but the thing is gone when he arrives. Murphy finds nothing on the radar and thinks Santos imagined it. After a few seconds though, the radar does detect something. Epps soon joins them to keep an eye on the radar, noticing how the mysterious thing appears and disappears. When Murphy tries using the radio, nothing happens. Suddenly a huge ship appears in front of them and Santos has to stop their tugboat fast. He manages to avoid a full crash but the front still hits the huge ship and the engine gets damaged. Murphy sees the name Antonia Grazia and explains it's an Italian ship that went missing without a distress signal in 1962. It's been every captain's dream to find it. Using the boat's crane, half of the group decides to go aboard to investigate while the other half keeps an eye on the tugboat. As they look around, the salvagers notice that all life preserver lockers are empty and all lifeboats are gone. As soon as they go inside, they lose their connection with the boat. The group looks around and follows a strange noise to find a pendulum clock still ticking. When it suddenly strikes time, it startles the guys. They keep moving and don't see Katie's toy moving on its own to say welcome aboard. The further they move into the ship, the more static can be heard on the tugboat radio. They never see a single body. After opening a heavy door, the group enters a lower level and the floor breaks under Munder. Epps catches him just in time but she almost slips through the hole too, so the others have to grab her legs. As she looks around Epps is shocked to see Katie in the lower room, but the girl quickly disappears. With some effort, Dodge and Murphy manage to pull Epps and Munder up without anyone getting hurt. Next the group makes it to the bridge. Sadly the compass and helm are dead and the fuel tanks are empty. Murphy takes the ship's log and Dodge is surprised to find a digital watch, which didn't exist in 1962. This means someone found the ship before them yet didn't take it. With nothing else to see, Murphy announces they'll rest for the night and tow the ship in the morning. When they return to the tugboat, Ferriman asks if they were able to discover what happened to the ship. Murphy explains they didn't and shares the story of the Marie Celeste, a ship that was also found with no bodies. Like the Antonia Grazia, the Marie Celeste traveled for miles with nobody at the helm until it ran out of fuel. These vessels are usually known as ghost ships. The crew discusses what to do with the ship in the morning. Murphy wants to tug it but Santos doesn't think their tugboat can move that much weight. They can't anchor it and can't back for it later either since its anchors are gone. Greer agrees to fix the engine so they can pull it, meaning it'll take them around 2 weeks to reach the shore. The next morning the crew goes scuba diving to check on the ship's hull and discovers that there's a big hole that is causing it to slowly sink. To make it worse, a strong current loop is pushing the ship towards some rocks and it'll crash in 3 days. The crew points out that's not enough time to fix both the ship and the engine, but Murphy tells them to do it anyway. Santos stays on the tugboat to fix the engine while the rest of the crew goes aboard the ship to assess the damage. They split the group into pairs so they can tackle different areas. Soon they discover that their radios aren't working in here. Munder and Dodge are going through a flooded lower level. Eventually they find the engine room and find it flooded as well. Greer and Murphy find the captain's room, but Murphy doesn't let Greer come in with him. Inside, Murphy finds the captain's hat and a bloodstained razor. There's also a bottle of whiskey and he decides to have a drink, but when he's about to take a sip, he's shocked to see that in the mirror he looks like the ship's captain. With just a blink, the mirror goes back to normal. He leaves the room without seeing the reflection changing again. Greer is exploring alone and discovers that the elevator has fallen. Meanwhile Epps accidentally splits from Ferriman when she finds the pool room. She gets inside the pool and notices a bunch of holes in the walls plus bullet cases on the floor. On her way up the ladder, she's shocked to see Katie again and it causes her to fall back, passing out when her body hits the bottom. It takes her a few minutes to wake up and she doesn't see her blood going down one of the floor holes. Ferriman finds her and helps her out while the blood comes out through a wall hole. The duo leaves the room as all the holes start bleeding and fill the pool with bloody water full of bodies. Suddenly Francesca's singing starts echoing in the ship and even playing on the radios. Greer follows the sound to the dining room and finds a piano. The ashtray on top of it has a cigarette with a lipstick stain that is still lit. He also sees a poster of Francesca and finds her attractive, unaware that she's watching him nearby. In the central laundry, Epps wants to check the vent. As soon as she opens it, water bursts out and starts flooding the room. The door closes on its own as the duo panics, noticing that there are bodies in the water and they're only a month old. Epps tries to contact her friends but the radios aren't working, so she and Ferriman look for another exit. They wander through different doors and corridors. Epps is desperate to leave the ship but Ferriman stops to admire an old car in the cargo hold. At that moment Epps notices something moving under a pile of mail bags and a closer look reveals a box. When she kicks it open she's startled by a bunch of rats, which quickly run away to uncover some bars of gold. They try to tell the others yet the radio only plays static, soon followed by a voice calling Epps' name and saying it's cold. The duo decides to keep moving toward the galley and Epps decides to investigate the fridge. As she peeks inside, she's suddenly startled by the hanging fabrics moving and screaming. Epps runs out in panic only to discover this was a prank by Dodge and Munder. Minutes later, the whole crew goes together to the cargo hold to open the rest of the boxes and they're excited to find even more gold. Everyone celebrates except for Greer, who thinks this has to be insured. Dodge points out that the markings have been filed down to make the bars untraceable, which means they're stolen. Munder replies that it only explains the 1962 incident, but they've also found recent bodies. Murphy reminds them that anything found in international waters is for the finder to keep, so they agree to take the gold instead of the ship. While most of the crew starts packing up the gold, Greer and Santos return to the tugboat to finish working on the engine. At that moment in the engine room, the valve on a propane tank starts moving on its own and Katie senses something is wrong, so she tries to warn Epps only to be pushed off by another ghost. Gear starts the tugboat and causes a huge explosion in the engine room. Mondo and Ferriman are nearby and jump just in time. Santos' body is on fire and he also jumps into the water as the other half of the tugboat explodes too. On the ship, Epps is thrown back by the shockwave, but she quickly recovers and jumps into the water to help her friends. She manages to rescue Greer while Ferriman gets Munder, but they can't find Santos. Katie watches everything from the ship. The crew now has to spend the night in the creepy ship. Dodge blames Santos' death on Ferriman for not doing research on the ship before bringing them here. He wants to beat him up but Greer stops him. Epps says they should repair the ship so they can use it to go home or at last survive until they're rescued. An argument ensues over this plan and Greer ends up punching Munder, so the men have to be dragged to different rooms. In the middle of the night, Katie dances around the swimming pool. In the kitchen, Dodge and Munder open some old cans they find in the kitchen and are surprised to discover that the food is in good condition. Their excitement instantly drops when they also find worms. Epps checks the old passengers list and sees Katie's name on the list. It says she was traveling alone. Now that she has Katie's room number, Epps goes looking for it. She's startled by all the doors in the corridor suddenly closing except for one, which slowly opens for her. As Epps enters the room, she hears some humming. All of Katie's belongings are around, but the sweetness is replaced by horror when Epps opens the closet and finds Katie's body. After the initial shock has passed, Epps takes the locket from the body and finds pictures of Katie's parents. Katie appears next to her and asks her not to close it because she hasn't seen them in years. Epps tries to give her the locket back but it just goes through Katie's hand, making her realize she truly is a ghost. Katie explains that everyone here is trapped and that once he has enough souls to fill his quota, they'll be ferried. When Epps tries to ask what it means, blood starts appearing on the ceiling and Katie says that he doesn't want them to chat. Katie tells Epps to leave as soon as she can before she disappears with a scream. In the dining room, Greer drinks while looking at a picture of his fiancée. When he finally tries to leave, the lights suddenly turn on and the objects start repairing themselves. Soon the room looks brand new and all the guests reappear to cheer for Greer. Francesca comes closer to kiss his cheek and Greer deduces that this isn't real, so it shouldn't count as cheating. He then kisses Francesca on the mouth. She starts walking away while she undoes her dress as an invitation. Greer follows her and gets ready for some action when he sees her standing at the elevator door completely naked. However, when he leans in to touch her, his body goes right through hers and he falls into the elevator shaft, which instantly kills him. Francesca's face becomes monstrous as she turns around. In the captain's room, a grieving Murphy drinks until he falls asleep. He's suddenly awakened by the bottle moving and he's shocked to find the old captain offering him another drink. The captain also gives him a notebook with pictures of the Lorelei, a ship he rescued 2 days before the Antonia Grazia disappeared. The pictures show that the boxes of gold came from the Lorelei and Murphy remembers the story saying it had no survivors. However, the captain corrects him and shows him a photo of the only survivor they found, which leaves Murphy in shock. A now terrified Murphy goes looking for the others and when he enters the swimming pool room, he finds Santos' ghost. Murphy tries to run away but Santos keeps appearing in front of him, blaming him for his death. At that moment Epps and Ferriman find him and try to approach him, but he sees them both as Santos. He thinks they're about to attack him so he jumps first, pushing Epps against a column. Epps tries to defend herself without hurting her captain, only for Epps to throw her on the floor. She grabs the nearest object she can find to hit him in the head and push him off, yet Murphy keeps attacking, leaving Epps no choice but to stab his foot. A furious Murphy gets ready to give her a killing blow, but luckily Ferriman hits him in the head by surprise and knocks him out. Afterward, the crew reunites and agrees to lock Murphy in the aquarium for the sake of everyone's safety. Now they just need to find Greer. By morning time, the crew still has no clue where their friend is. They discuss what to do and Epps convinces them to follow the plan of fixing the ship. Munder, Dodge and Epps go diving into the engine room. They blow up the door to open it and find the tier on the hull, which they start to seal. After lots of work, it's completely covered. Next they set up some hoses and pumps to get rid of all the water in the ship. It'll take a while, but at least the compass and helm are working again. If they keep control of the water pumping and the drift, they'll be able to avoid crashing into the rocks. Then Epps goes looking for Greer again. Katie shows her the way and Epps is devastated to find the body. Katie touches Epps' shoulder and transports her mind to a memory of what happened after they found the Lorelei. The curse killed guests and crew members in a variety of methods and soon chaos and panic took over. They started to kill each other because they all wanted the gold. It was humans who took Katie to her room and killed her there. When the last few standing men went for the gold, Frances manipulated the leader and made him kill his team, pretending they'd be together. However, she then killed the leader with a shot to the head, unaware that there still was one last man left. The guy tricked her by kissing her and killed her with a hook before putting a mark on her hand. Epps stares in shock as she realizes that the guy is Ferriman. Remembering that Ferriman was left to watch over Murphy, Epps runs back to the aquarium, but it's too late. Murphy is already dead. Epps pointlessly hits the glass until the breakdown takes over and she collapses. In the engine room, a clog stops the hoses and Munder dives in to fix it while Dodge goes to the bridge to keep the ship under control. Epps comes in to tell him about Murphy, but before she can tell him the details, Ferriman enters the room too. Instead, she just says they need to leave immediately and that she'll go looking for Munder. She wants Dodge and Ferriman to keep an eye on each other, and before leaving she gives Dodge a gun. Meanwhile, Munder is swimming when suddenly he feels his legs getting stuck. It turns out the ship's gears are moving and bringing him in. Munder desperately tries to swim away, but the gears are too strong and soon crush him. When Epps arrives, the blood in the water tells her what happened. On the bridge, Ferriman tries to leave and Dodge immediately blocks his way, threatening to shoot. Ferriman starts taunting him with all kinds of insults, so Dodge finally opens fire to keep him at bay. The resulting nasty wound makes Dodge think he's dead, but Ferriman is actually alive. Back to Epps, she's setting up some explosives when she's approached by Dodge, who says that Ferriman is dead. Epps tells him not to be so sure and reveals she's trying to blow up the ship. Dodge hates the idea and starts arguing, but Epps won't budge. When he tries to take the detonator, she immediately steps away. A furious Dodge begins to scream and throw objects around, so Epps wonders why he hasn't asked about Munder. At that moment, Dodge transforms into Ferriman, who took Dodge's face after killing him. It turns out Ferriman is a soul that went to hell after a lifetime of sin. As punishment, he has to collect enough souls to fill ships and send them to hell. Only corrupted souls count, which is why Katie isn't valid. He offers to let Epps go if she doesn't blow up the ship, but she refuses. When she is about to set off the bombs, Ferriman makes a beam hit her. She drops the detonator and falls into the water. Then Ferriman gets in the water too and starts beating her up. However, Epps finds a crossbow underwater and stabs Ferriman's leg. As he steps back, Epps uses the chance to shoot an arrow at the detonator, which activates the explosives. A massive explosion blows up the whole ship and burns down Ferriman. Now the souls are freed from his torment. Epps swims among the falling debris and sees Katie, who guides her to safety. She says a final goodbye before disappearing with the other souls. On the surface, Epps watches the lights of the souls floating around the sinking ship and holds on to some random objects. Thankfully, a ship eventually rescues her. Sometime later, Epps is back on land. As they put her in an ambulance, she's shocked to see some officers handing the boxes of gold and Ferriman following them. Epps tries to scream only for the ambulance doors to close on her face. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.